All right, so I'm like the last person getting to this, and that is Powers of X number 2. For those of you that have been following the House of X and Powers of X series, there's a certain chronological order that they're going to be going in. So far, every issue that I've reviewed so far has been in the order, the reading order that it's supposed to be. So this follows House of X number 2. And if you guys remember House of X number 2, and that one, that was like kind of the big reveal and where it really took a turning point, because that's when you find out that Moira McTaggart, yes, Moira McTaggart, the long-established good friend and former lover, or at times, lover of Professor Xavier, who runs the Muir Island Research Facility, who founded the Muir Island Research Facility, is an expert on mutants, apparently has been a mutant this entire time, or that's what they've retconned. That's what Jonathan Hickman has retconned, is that she's a mutant with the ability to reincarnate, and she's lived a bunch of different lives, and she's gone through different scenarios, but in every single scenario, it seems like nothing really changes all that much. So she reveals to Xavier that she is a mutant, and this is one of those scenarios where, well, as far as how this is all going to play out in terms how everything will end, this is I guess where the story is pretty much set when we see the beginning of House of X, right? What pretty much is leading up to that, and it's her revealing herself as being a mutant to Xavier, and Xavier going to Magneto and saying, hey, look, I've seen all this stuff that she's experienced through her reincarnation. She basically shared it with me in her mind, and we need to be on this united front. We need to basically put the differences aside, and this is one of those situations, or one of the scenarios, I guess, where one of the avenues that they hadn't traveled down before, with Xavier and Magneto uniting. So it's interesting stuff, but this one feels like it's, it started off okay. I like all this stuff. This is the stuff I prefer, but then it does the whole thing like how Powers of X number 1 was doing, where it's kind of jumping around through these timelines, right? 100 years and 10 years in the future, 100 years, 1,000 years in the future. So they show what's going on. I guess the 10-year part would be basically modern time, current. So we have Xavier here talking to Cyclops and just kind of letting him know, hey, the potential for Nimrod being created is still out there, right? This is a very real possibility. And as we see when we go forward, Nimrod, of course, in the 100 years in the future part, has been created. So they talked about this earlier on in the series, in the I don't know if it was House of X or Powers of X, where nature finds a way, or science finds a way, and somebody, even if it wasn't the Trasks, somebody was going to create the Sentinels regardless, and that's still the big threat that they're facing. Of course, mutants trying to survive the extinction and all that. And in the 100-year in the future part, as we see, the one who's really running the show and people have united with is Apocalypse. So they haven't really explained how that all shaked out yet. I'm sure that's something that'll come later on in the series, where they talk about how it is that Wolverine and Magneto came to join forces with Apocalypse after the facts. Of course, I would think it would have to do with them just, hey, look, we're all mutants. We need to put the differences aside, and we need to just be on this united front. But this issue was, it was okay. A little bit of revelations. It's really just, I feel like the Powers of X just kind of fill in, or the way I'm feeling about it so far is that they're just going to really fill in some of the gaps in between things. I think the main story is really going to be pushed through House of X. This just adds a little bit more context to certain things and kind of fills in a little bit of the holes. But so far it seems like Hickman's main purpose is to really tell more of a story with House of X than anything else. I think that's where you're going to get all the really good and juicy stuff. All the interesting stuff is going to come in that series. With Powers of X, it feels like it's just filling in some certain holes just to add, like I said, a little bit more context to certain things, a little bit more details. But I think, I don't know, I'm liking... I guess I like House of X a little bit better now just because of issue number 2, because like I said, that's where things I felt really took a turn and felt a lot more interesting. But anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say about this issue. It was okay. Helps the story along a little bit, but I think the main focus is going to be House of X, the House of X series. That's, like I said, that's just my opinion. So if you're a person that doesn't want to buy both of these, if you don't want to buy both House of X and Powers of X, I would say I'm leaning a little bit more towards House of X. If you're just looking to get more of, so far at least, it seems like that's what's going to be more of the harder hitting, more intriguing stuff going on. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below as always. And until next time, the hunt continues.